There we go.
All right. Hello.
Hi.
So, the main inquiry we're exploring is what is healthy and mature love, and how have you experienced the growth into that in your life? And there are multiple different threads that kind of came together in my personal life that sparked this inquiry for you, Schuyler. And one is honestly the beginning of my relationship with you was when I was very recently after I had ended a very challenging relationship in my life. And somehow I don't even remember how I found you, but your writing came into my inbox and I read your story and your experience, and there was a moment for me where for the first time ever I didn't feel alone in the
Mm,
challenges that I had been through in love.
mm,
And um
mm,
and so that is such a core piece, just the resonance in your experiences, specifically around love and romantic love. And then more recently, I am currently exploring a relationship in which, for the first time, it feels like healthy love, and it's new and different and in some ways confusing.
mhm,
Um, so that in that curiosity of what is happening here, um, and the third thread here has been this deep recognition as I look back at all the patterns in my relationships, this deep recognition of how much time I wasted not loving
mm,
and not unconditionally
mm,
loving the person, the relationship, myself.
mm,
And so there's a deep grief there that I experienced recently. So all
mm,
three of those threads kind of came together in
mm.
this I must ask Schuyler.
Aw.
And so yeah, so
Mm,
here we are. And I I open the inquiry in any way that feels
mm,
good for you. If there's a specific point you want to begin sharing, whether it's
mm.
what love used to mean to you or what love means to you now, the door is open.
Wow. Thank you for opening the door. Yeah, I feel like I want to nest the conversation in, yeah, like make it, if we do choose to share the conversation and we are recording the conversation, this would be a different conversation if we were just hanging out, two women chatting. But I felt like something in our exchange might be helpful to beyond just the two of us. And so that would be, I think that's our intention for sharing, is to invite more people into this conversation. Um, and I thought it was really special just to like keep it even, like just to start right at the level of that first impulse when you reached out and I received this message from you, this inquiry, this question about mature, well, we didn't call it mature love at that point, but you were just wanting, really genuinely curious about my experience moving into um, real love, let's call it. And I have never received that question before, and it felt so nourishing, like so delightful to receive it from a younger woman. There's like almost 20 years, I think, between us in age, which is like so beautiful. For some reason, it almost, even just saying that makes me kind of tear up because this kind of generational exchange, is like something that we're both of us here to repair and restore. And we didn't have to like design a practice around it or anything like that. Like you just like had some things coming up for yourself that you got curious about, and then you looked and saw an older woman who might have something like wisdom to share about that thing, and you invited her into a conversation. And I'm showing up so happy to be invited into the conversation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Woo, and it's a big one, right? It's a big conversation. And I noticed as you were like restating the question, I was like, wow, I still feel like a complete novice. Like let's start there. Like I think there is no destination, right? It's kind of like I'm guessing. Like I like to hold it this way, like stages of enlightenment, you know? Like we're so funny, like we need to think there's somewhere to get to, and that once we get there, everything will be okay or feel good or whatever. And I think it's like progressive stages of loving also. Like how far can we go? Like how deep can we go? How big, how high? Like I don't even know where the where is with love, right? But there's like this whole body of wisdom around women dissolving into love. Like there's a point in the feminine journey where you stop looking for love and you become love.
Mm,
And I remember reading that for years and years and years when I was like so far from that, you know, like in a marriage that was very much coming from an old paradigm. And I've obviously worked a lot with so I was married just for you and others for 12 years. And then we have a daughter. So I have a 15-year-old daughter. Um, yeah, so like I also have lived through a lot. And I got married when I was 34. So already by the time I was married, I had had many encounters, romantic encounters, explorations, one night stands, like the gamut, and just in this like experiential path of life and love, right? Like threw myself into everything like headlong, right? Like everything was potentially the thing. And then got married thinking that was the thing to do. And then, like the disillusionment there and the struggle, just to be like honest about it. And then all the things we did to try to save that marriage and repair that covenant and not being able to, and like what that's like. All of this,
mm,
like you mentioned the wasting time aspect, like, yeah, I can relate. And also, like, I don't know, I'll speak for myself. Like, it's both. Like, I can really feel it as having wasted time, not loving, and I can feel it as me learning to love.
mm,
Um, and then it took, I mean, just to kind of like bring us all the way through that arc, after the marriage, there was this like finding myself again, and then finding myself in relationship again. And I made some more mistakes, significant, fun, crazy mistakes. And then eventually in 2021, I found my current partner and my beloved Ari. And it's by far the greatest love of my life. And I know that he couldn't have shown up until he did. And I've definitely felt sad myself. This is my sadness. Like, why did it come so late? I was 48 when I met Ari. He was 40
mm,
or 47, I guess, where there's a 7-year age difference. So he was 40, I was 47. And I was like, now you show up? Like, where have you been? And there's a whole story there because we actually were kind of circling each other for a decade in New York City. But yeah, I felt sad in a way that it was happening late in life and that we wouldn't have, enough time or yeah, just like all of this baggage around what happens when you do find that love late in life. Um, and then learning that there is no late in life for love. Like it can come at any time and I'm thinking it could come multiple times, although I don't know because I also feel like I found a great love, like a multi-lifetime kind of love.
Mm.
Um, and so that's where I'm at right now. We've been together since 2021. We'll be 5 years this June. This is a second partnership for both. I mean, he was married before also and has a daughter. So in our current love configuration, there are also two children. And we live on different coasts currently. We're trying to move towards we're going to come together, but for the last 5 years, we've also had a long distance love.
Mm.
So those are kind of that's the structure of it for me.
Mm.
And that's where my answers will be coming from.
Beautiful. Thank you. Wow, there's so many bits and pieces in there I didn't really know. So thank you for sharing that. And what I kept sensing as I was hearing you is um, even in the experiences of feeling like love wasn't there, in so many ways, even the journey of discovering love and love itself is an initiation into love. So love as an initiation into itself. And the journey of that is so worth it. If we're not here for that, what are we here for? You know? So I was just feeling that as you were speaking, and um my curiosity sparks around those moments of initiation into deeper love in your life, and if there are a couple that are kind of rising as you're sharing that you
Mm.
want to dive a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what's coming up for me, one is archetypes, that there's so many, like when like what kind of love are we talking about? Like there's obviously so many. I think we're kind of like honing in on romantic love partnership, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we've been calling this conversation about mature love. Like maybe it's nice to say a little bit about what that means
Mm-hmm.
and then talk about how like the initiations, because when Ari and I first met, we fell in love differently. Like you mentioned, feeling like the falling in love part itself feels different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you used the word confusing, and I was laughing because yeah, it's like if you've been doing it one way, and then all of a sudden someone shows up and it's happening a different way, but I've definitely, yeah, it's confusing. I mean, it's like let's just be honest about that. And that was kind of happening when Ari and I were falling in love. And in fact, when we would discuss it, we didn't like the term falling in love. We would say rising in love.
Wow.
Yeah, because it didn't feel like falling. It felt like rising. And that already is a different orientation. Like just spatially, it was like, whoa. Um, and then at some point, and I was like at 47, 48, I was resistant to the idea. Like I was, yeah, it's just funny. I've been through the initiation of menopause also since I met Ari. He went through that with me. That was in itself like such a journey for the two of us, that I think would be nice to talk about because like I think a lot of romantic love when you're younger is structured around, or at least for, you know, people who are oriented this way, like maybe structured around having kids or you know, like marriage and children and that kind of thing. Recognizing there are infinite number of ways to do that. But like the passage of being pregnant, like having someone's baby is really, you know, having a baby together is a really bonding experience for better and worse. Um, and when I met Ari, I was feeling sad sometimes that we weren't going to go through a blood rite, you know, that I wasn't going to get to share like an initiation like that with him. I didn't realize that I was going to go through menopause with him. Wow, you know, like you don't think that like the partner can and does play a really big role in that, and it really changed us both, and our relationship very much. But when we first got together, I couldn't really, I needed to like, it was so confusing how different it felt that I needed a new name for it. And I was like, oh, I think this is mature. Like what we're doing is very mature. And I was a little, what I'm trying to say is I was allergic to that word mature because I felt like it said old.
Mm,
And I wasn't fully reconciled in myself. I myself, I was like, God, I don't know how to fall in love as an older person, you know, like in midlife, let's say. Like it doesn't like, can it be goofy? Like what does it look like? And so as we were doing it, we had a joke. I mean, we would kind of laugh and something would come up between us, and then I'd be like, wow, this is really mature. And he'd be like, this. So we were kind of like in an awareness that we were doing something together that felt different for both of us. And mature was the word that we put to it. Yeah, I, yeah, I haven't really defined it, but I think maybe that will come. That will come. I'll leave it there.
mm, beautiful. Yeah, I get really curious about the word mature as well. It's something that's um, come up for me in the last, I would say the last year. There's certain relational interactions that have happened in my life where I'm like, wow, almost a little bit of, I handled that very maturely. And in a surprising, I've surprised myself. Um, and I do feel or sense that healthy and
Mm.
whole are have a similar frequency or similar feel essence. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
curious to
I
explore.
also get grounded when you just said that. I was like, there's like a, or a centered,
Yeah.
right? Like, wow, I handled that in a mature way. Like when I feel that in you, it's like you were like in yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe that's part of mature love. Seems
Yeah.
like.
I also get curious about, because when you said that, I also get curious about the etymology of the word because I'm assuming it comes from maternity, like maternal. Um,
Mature.
I'm not actually sure, but there was a um, yeah, there was a grounded kind of recognition of the whole that is involved and
Mm.
serving and speaking to the fullness of the moment rather than just one part, that may seem on fire or may really want attention. So I notice for myself when I react in the most mature way, I'm usually the most um, I am engaging more in that moment.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
yeah, and so there's a maternal feeling to it in some ways.
Yeah, I'm also getting matriculate, like the way you come, like in academia, you know, you matriculate through a system, and then I would think like you kind of mature
Yeah.
as those layers are locked in, right? Like, yeah, yeah, there's something interesting there.
I'm also curious specifically because confusion feels really alive to me. And I'm curious what was confusing to you and what was different for you.
Ooh. I mean, it's funny. Okay, so just speaking from my personal experience, from that actual experience of falling, rising in love with Ari. Um, there was a lack of drama that I'm just enjoying your reaction. Yeah, there was a lack of drama that was really destabilizing for me. That sounds crazy, but if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. Um, like his steadiness and his complete um presenting of himself as available was absolutely confusing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I had only had, like, if we want to simplify it, I really only had two experiences of erotic intimacy. One was just totally like, like a complete hormonal pheromone karmic, just like a very intense draw together and merging kind of quality. And usually, that what I was drawn to magnetically like had certain characteristics, you know, and I could describe those, but yeah, there was like that was the pattern, and that was like what my erotic system was kind of like uh built for. It's like the synapses. I don't know how it's like that's the patterning that I was holding. And so it was like that's why I call it karmic or trauma. It's like trauma bonding. It was like that was what I saw as attraction, chemistry, it was like, and there was a lot that was really unhealthy about that whole dynamic. And it was in every relationship I'd ever had, including my husband, started like that. And then the other version was someone usually pretty nice interested in me. And I could see that they were a valid, like a good guy or a good potential partner, or like I liked them, but there wasn't like an erotic, there wasn't anything, I wasn't attracted to them, in that way. And so there were a lot of like really kind of sad and disappointing for both of us. Um, encounters where it would be this like great guy and I couldn't like it was like I was not wired for that connection. So when Ari showed up, meanwhile, I had to do a lot of work on this pattern, like a ton of work. And, it's like the patterns will repeat themselves until they're corrected, until they're integrated. That was me through age 43, like just over and over again. And I even spent a long time aware of the pattern, but unable to break it.
Mm.
Like, oh my God, like it was tenacious. Um, and then I was 2 years during COVID, completely celibate, no partner, and just living in the woods with my daughter, mothering and working on these old patterns. And only after I had broken through and really integrated a lot and like I want to say decoded, sort of like cut and broke those receptors, was I able to see this man who showed up, Ari, and he was all the good, all the light,
Mm.
and I had the attraction to him, and I had never felt that combo before, and it was really beautiful, but not karmic, like in the way I was used to being like, this is, he's everything. And I was like, he is everything. I feel that with every fiber of my being, and yet I don't need to merge with him in that way. And so, yeah, that's a decent explanation of what felt confusing. It was just different and new.
Uh, I'm I'm curious about the phase or the season of when you were aware of the pattern, but were not able to shift it. What was that like for you?
Oh, I feel like so many people could identify because whether it's love, I mean, it's addiction, right? Whether it's love or alcohol or, shopping, I don't know, like if you have that wiring, then you know what it's like to try to want to be aware that there's a problem and not able to stop it. Um, yeah. So what was it like? It was like self-sacrifice, it was like self-mutilating. It was like my it was like throwing myself onto the pyre, like a rag doll or something. Like it was like, yeah, it was like kind of,
Mm.
and of course then that's like, and then it's like there were all kinds of stories about how this one was different. And then I would find myself suddenly like it's like you come to and you're like, wait, this isn't different at all. Like who was that? Um, so I needed help. Yeah, if I reflect back on that time, my friend David was actually a big help. I remember walking with him in those woods a lot during those years
Mm.
and like him really helping me to excavate and like holding up a mirror.
Mm.
And he's really good at that. And also just the not being able to be, COVID was really helpful. Like just not having the access, it was like cold turkey.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I think it's kind of a story of breaking an addiction, really.
Mm. Wow, I feel yeah, there's a lot in my system that I almost feels I feel some density there in me kicked up in all of that. Yeah.
Thank you for
Amongst
naming that. Yeah, it's like I can feel as I say it, like a little bit of like a repulsion. Like I remember feeling nauseated like a lot during that time. Like there was something I needed to purge
mm,
from my system. And I can recognize it's still there, the echoes. Like I can still remember that very well.
yeah. Yeah, it comes to from this deep I almost feel a deep collective feminine longing
Mm,
for the safety within safety itself,
mm.
like there's a
No, say more.
yeah, there's when you had shared about the confusion. For me, what I notice is there's there's almost an in safety in the safety that I feel. I'm not used to feeling safety in relationship. So when there is that safety and that groundedness and that slowness and that presence, um, because it's new, I almost don't feel safe in it.
Yeah. 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 I
There's
know
such a
exactly what you mean.
longing there's such a longing to relax into safety in relationship.
Mm.
And in it's almost this pattern I'm noticing, like, well, there's not the passion and the high highs and the low lows. That feels like such an excuse that is distracting me from just relaxing into the safety that is here. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
How are you doing with that? I find myself curious about where you're at with that, just so we can like,
of course. It's funny because as you asked that, I have a low battery. I have a low
oh,
battery alert. So let me charge my computer really quick.
yeah, yeah.
So I would say um, I'm learning, and the only way I'm able to learn how to relax is to consistently lean in when I want to run.
Mm,
Um,
mm, mm,
and it's
mhm,
super subtle because the
mhm,
running comes up in ways of I come up with these little excuses or little stories that it's not right, or or a lot of tiny little new age um, bits of knowledge from when I used to tread in all of the manifestation techniques around manifesting your lover. A lot of little bits of those tend to come up as excuses to run away. Um, and every single time, instead of following those kind of like elusive and also false impulses,
mm,
I lean in and just stay in relationship, and something breaks, something opens and breaks and melts away. And I either cry or I feel peace flood through my system, or it's something. And so that seems to be what I'm practicing right now.
mm. Yeah,
And it's surprising and very subtle. But it's with a partner who is so present
yeah,
and um, unwavering that I can do that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the word that comes to me is steadfast. It's
Mhm.
really an old-fashioned word, but yeah, and I'm like totally relating and yeah, like remembering the whole process journey of kind of being where it sounds like you're at, where um yeah, like the tantrums, like the parts of like young parts who really didn't trust that he was going to keep showing up or that he was who he said he was, like the distrust, like the deep old distrust in the masculine.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, for me, it comes partly in from my father and my how I was fathered. And like I remember having resistance to that when it would come up for me early on because I was like, my dad is great and like that's not it. And then a whole load of father work coming through.
Mm.
I was like, oh my God. And like you know, just generationally where we're at with trauma and ancestral trauma and like how my dad wasn't really there. He was physically there, but checked out a lot.
Mm.
And so my little girl, is like really in terror, and really confused. Actually, I think a lot of the confusion was hers because he was there, but not reachable or sometimes reachable, but then it would like the love would get kind of like it would disappear, in my perception. Um, and like that experience was formatted, in me. And so then, this man came around, like I'm remembering this moment keeps coming back to me early on when I would go to LA and visit, and we would have these like I got all the passion I wanted. Like they were very heightened and there was a lot of passion and magic. And then lots of calm, like lots of rest and just resting in the stability of it. But one day early on, he took me to this like I don't know, very LA place where you could get treatments like on these machines and bioregulation and this and that. And I'm such a yogi, I was very allergic to all of those biohacking kinds of techniques. That's been part of our journey is like the whole embodiment versus technology journey is very much me and Ari. But he wanted me to experience this technology, and so he took me to this place, and they had me on this bed, like with this blanket with electromagnetic pulses, and I was like relaxed there. And then I don't know, it was like really working. It was working, and I looked up. I thought he was off doing something else, but he was sitting in a chair right at the foot of the bed. And I realized he'd been sitting there the whole time and that he would continue to sit there until I was done with my treatment. And I was like, oh, that's when I knew. Like I could cry now. I was like, oh, he's gonna sit. Oh, yeah. In that, like he'll just be there. Like whatever the treatment or the bed or the process or whatever it is you're in, you don't have to worry that he's off doing something else. Like he's gonna be there. Um, Yeah, I'll never forget that. I think that's when it really dropped in. And then it took me a long time to get used to that. Yeah, so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. It's yeah, I feel really touched hearing that. And um
I think it's like the selflessness of the masculine,
mm,
um, the generosity, obviously the protective quality, but like that expression, like in its pure form, it's just, yeah, stunning. Oh, God.
yeah, it's incredibly heart opening too. I feel there's a what I feel in my system hearing you and just in my heart is the gift of someone staying.
I mean, to this day, like honestly, like I'm still the one who wants to run. We have, and I'm so much better, like, but I just want to be real. I think that's what I meant at the beginning when I'm like, I'm not an expert, but I'm definitely in the practice, of this mature love. And part of it is recognizing like you already are, like when you want to run. Um, we have like Ari painted me this painting. It's in my bedroom. It's like one of my favorite gifts that he's given me. It's us in a boat moving towards Shambhala or like the golden age.
Mm.
And it's like a touchstone, but we have a joke that like I'll jump out of the boat. It's like really funny because that is exactly what it feels like. He's like, I've made a boat. It's like a canoe, he's like, I'm like taking us towards the golden age, and I keep trying to jump out of the boat. He's like, where are you gonna go? Like, what are and so whenever I'm having those feelings, and I think in any process of healing and transformation, for me, it's always helpful to name things. So it's like just yesterday we were working on a creative project and I got scared and I was like, I jumped out of the boat. He's like, you just jumped out of the boat. I'm like, okay.
How do
Um,
you get back in?
oh God, that's funny. He pulls me in. Honestly, like most of the like he has for a long time, like he'll pull me back in like this, like over the side of the canoe, like, come on. Um, but I would like to say that I climb back in the boat myself, but like that is the reality.
Mm,
But then again, like it's actually not totally, there's a part of me that never ever jumps out of the boat,
yeah. Yeah.
right? Like we
Mhm.
couldn't do it because there are times when you need to jump out of the boat, ladies, like sometimes it's not the right boat.
Exactly.
But there's a part of me that never jumps out. Like and it's important. Like I think it's really like I forget how important it is to give him um reassurance, like in that steadiness, like how beautiful that steadiness is, and not to be taken for granted that
Mm,
it's a lot of work for them. Like the feminine, especially, the feminine that's like really wild, and I am really wild, and I think you are,
mm,
like proudly so, but also I know I'm not easy.
yeah.
Um, like every once in a while, I just have to say to him, like, thank you for being there. Thank you for keeping us on track. Like, thank you for your steadiness. And I'm always like, oh, it really, like, he really needs to hear that. And it really hurts him when I jump out of the boat, actually. Like, it is an experience that he has to work through too.
Mm,
Um, and when I began to recognize that, I really, like, that motivated me to stop doing that.
mm,
It's not fair. Um, yeah, and honestly, post-menopause has made it a little bit easier because I'm not quite so volatile.
mm.
Checking. I'm volatile in a different way.
For
It's
sure.
like it's a steadier climb. Like it doesn't come out of nowhere, It's not so like woo. Um, but we often say to each other, I mean, we have fun, I mean, sometimes he just looks at me, he's like, no one else could handle this. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? You too. Like, but there's something like fun in our like recognition that we're kind of like perfectly built to hold each other's
Mm,
multifaceted forms.
yeah. It's almost like when you're aware of it and you're aware of the roles you're playing, it becomes more fun and playful.
I
Yeah.
love that. Say more about that.
Yeah, it's almost like when you can recognize some of the wounds and the patterns that
Mm,
play out in relationship, then you can almost use the awareness of it creates some sort of levity and space where you can play. It's like you're on stage playing with them and playing them out, but from a place of, oh, we're going to do this, like, okay, we're going to do this. And there's an inner joy that I think is just arises in that because we are human, like
yeah.
these patterns are always growing in these beautiful expanding spirals. So they will continue to show up in new ways, and to play through them versus resist away from them or resist against each other with them, just it's going to happen no matter what, so why not just play, and the awareness of it just melts the density, I feel like.
I
Of that.
agree. I agree. Yeah. It's so dynamic, right? Like that's what I'm feeling as you say that. I mean, there's such a long, I don't even know, like there's such a long tradition. I'm very inspired by the consort practice of like the tantric traditions and long before Ari and I were together, um, I recognized that there was an ideal and that it was actually a path, that that relationship is a path to union with God. And so I was like really clear that there was an archetype, a prototype, and a, way. Um, I'm still really clear about that. Like that we're explicit about the fact that we're in a sacred dynamic.
Mm,
And the more we like kind of step into that archetypically, uh, the more we can like more power is in the union. And we're modern, postmodern, metamodern, Western people and parents. Like there are all these conditions that are like very now, like very of this moment. So we have to work with like the dynamics that are intrinsic like to now, to our lives right now, to these incarnations, these bodies. Um, so, but I want to name that because it's like I'm as serious about my relationship as I am about any of my other spiritual practices, right? Like maybe it's the primary one. Um, and I see that a lot out there because it's real. And then I see some performance, like I see some, um, which is fine. It's not a judgment because that's one way to get there. But I just want to say that, yeah, we're working on different levels of reality, right? Like in the archetypal realm, in the subtle realm, we are a couple. Our souls are in a partnership, and our souls have a way of loving and agreements and things that they have to learn, etc.
mm,
And then we also like come like incarnate into these bodies in this time. And the conditions are like all of us, like, yeah, I wish I could fly over that valley that's behind my house right now. I can't in this body. I can on the subtle. So like also like looking into the eyes of the beloved, like I can see like sometimes we're in at the soul level of reality and everything's really beautiful and blissful. And then sometimes I'm looking at him and I'm like, why do you keep doing that thing? Or like, why is this so hard? Like, what is like, yeah, the conditions are really challenging in the 3D in this meat suit, in this body. Not
mm,
meat suit, I don't want to call it that, but it's a funny term. And sometimes it feels dense.
mm,
But I think I'm just agreeing with your recognition that like the more dimensions of your relationship that you can bring online and make explicit and that you're talking, you're in the same awareness around what's happening is really it's endless, right? Then it's never boring. It never gets boring. I mean, we had a funny moment last year where Ari had to come live with me in New York for the year because of the fires in LA. And of course, this is all I had wanted for 4 years. I was like, enjoying, but also having a really hard time with the long distance. Like, it's just hard. Everybody knows that. And so then, like, it should have been like, it was the answer to our prayers that we were going to be living together. But immediately when he arrived, or pretty soon after he arrived, I found myself again, there are these moments, right? I was folding laundry. It's like so cliche. I was folding laundry and I'm folding like his underwear and his shirts. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like all of a sudden this like I had to work with this big like fear of domestication,
mm,
like this fear that what we had been in, I don't know, somehow I was like, I didn't even know it was in me, this fear of domestication, this like fear that it would become ordinary or boring, or we would stop seeing each other, or we would take each other for granted.
Mm.
or we would stop eating meals together. Like all the things that we just did because yeah, that was our year last year was working with my, again, fear of domesticity.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, I want to dive into I still have so many
Threads.
questions, but I'm also feeling a closing at the same time. Um, and okay, I'm gonna ask one more question because this keeps
Yeah.
pinging. What does aliveness and eros, how do you experience those qualities in relationship, in mature love?
Mm. I'm just trying to think if how it's different than immature love, or how it's different from those other patterns that I was describing. Um,
If it is different.
I mean, it's so different with
Oh.
Ari. It's hard for me to tell how much of it is him and how much of it is that like
Mhm.
he's very special. Um, God, I just keep getting like I can um the aliveness. Aha, I get it. Hold on. Aha, aha, aha. Yeah, what I was getting was like this one pointedness, this like of the like the attraction in those like earlier couplings, let's say, was very there was an attachment, right? There was like a grasping quality to those that is gone in like there's this um union, this like I talked about merging before, but in an unhealthy way where you would lose yourself, right? In the merging. Now when I think of us or when I feel into our love, it is a massive field that we can both operate from.
Mm.
And the safety that we've been talking about has clicked in or settled in. The certainty, the commitment, like not a vow like at the altar, but like a vow at the altar. Like that is so strong that yeah, I don't know how to think. It's almost like being superheroes, like super agents, where we can come back. We never, yeah, that field is of the love is what holds us. And then he goes out and makes movies or does something, and I don't feel graspy about that. I know that he's not leaving. Um, and I can go do my thing and I feel supported by by the love.
Um,
So I think that it's like, yeah, like love without attachment.
mm. Wow. I feel so emotional hearing that.
Oh,
As I was as you were speaking, what I could almost see is you were both being nourished by the relationship itself rather than each other.
uh-huh. Yeah.
Like there is this field of love that you've created together, like this home of a relationship, and you come and you're nourished and you grow from the enrichment within the relationship and the commitment and the deep devotion that's both anchored downwards and honoring and reverence upwards. And this vortex that you can be nourished by rather than each other. And there's something about that I felt goosebumps. I feel emotional just tapping into
Mm.
that. Um,
Oh,
and yeah, I just feel really grateful for that transmission.
Thank you for receiving. Yeah, it's really nice to share. We call us like early on, we were sitting at dinner one night in LA and yeah, we're so guided. Like I think that's like I always feel that. And there's been so much magic around our union.
Mm.
Like we joke, we've been married so many times, even though we've never had a wedding. Like nature throws us weddings all the time. I
Mhm.
mean, maybe you would identify. Like all of a sudden, we would find. Like one day, we went to the beach, and there was a dozen red roses and a dozen white roses just there, like left at the beach. I don't know why. And we made this mandala, and I was like, I think we're getting married. You know, it's
Yeah.
like the universe wants you married. You know, and it keeps throwing weddings.
Organic ceremony. Yeah,
Yeah, it is. It's a
beautiful.
really like when you know like there's no denying when that's happening. It's like, okay, I got it. Um, but we were sitting at dinner one night and I was laughing about because we're in LA, Hollywood and stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's like those power couples, they call them power couples. And I was like, because we were talking about our work and how we really both want to step out creatively and be a filmmaker and be a writer. And I was like, oh, we could be one of those power couples, but not a power couple, an empowered couple.
Yes.
And as soon as, I mean, it sounds silly, but it was again like naming something and having like a language between us. And so I actually started taking notes. I should get them out. I have a whole notes on my phone for a book about, it's like, it's kind of I mean, I feel like self-conscious because it sounds a little cheesy, but like it's private but I feel okay to share. I actually asked Ari, by the way, before this conversation, I was like, I'm gonna go talk about our relationship. Is that okay? Um, but it's like it's called Empowered Couples, How to Live and Love in the New Earth. And I
Mm,
have chapters, like I've got a whole note. I've taken notes through this relationship because I knew it was special.
mm.
And I haven't done anything with it yet, but maybe this is the beginning of doing something with it, Ariana. Maybe this is like a prompt.
I would love to nourish that seed because I was feeling book the entirety of this conversation.
Wow.
The words you were using, I mean, rising in love,
Mm,
that in itself, I can just feel the depth of opportunity, even those words together offer. And yeah, mature love and empowered or empower couple.
empowered couple.
Yeah, all of it almost it feels like a new language for a
Mm.
relationship and for romance and partnership. So I wholeheartedly encourage that. And
There's so much more, right?
I know I have three other very large questions. So that we can
We'll have to do a
close.
part two.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Skylar. I feel actually a level of confidence in engaging relationship after this
Mm.
conversation. So thank you. Is there any last words that you would want to share?
Oh, yeah. Blessings on your union. Blessings on your union.
Mm,
Like, really see you. I know your partner. Um, I don't know if you're calling each other partner, but I know the person that you're dancing with. And I just like, I think that is also something like Ari and I make a point of meeting older empowered couples and cultivating friendship with them and gleaning their wisdom. And there is an aspect of initiation, blessing. Like, I definitely feel, yeah, just want to offer a blessing to
mm,
the work that you're doing, that the two of you are doing.
thank you, Skylar. Thank you.
You have a unique mission, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing too, is that they're like this union in the archetypal sense. It doesn't have to be male and female, obviously, but like these are unions that are meant to birth things, right? Sometimes it's a child, human child. Sometimes it's an idea, a business, a creative project, a community. Like it could be anything, but like as a couple finding that partner that you like knowing your mission together and like knowing what you're here with your unique incarnations, streams to birth
Mm.
is that's the field that holds you.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah, that to me is empower partnership because it's the power of two coming together to create something
The
that,
third.
yeah, the third. And to be creating something from that kind of love, it must,
Yeah,
whatever is created holds that.
exactly, exactly, exactly. That's the alchemy.
Here's to rising in love.
Yay!
Woo!
Thank you, my dear.